Welcome back to Island Love, the Belizean spin-off Season 6, a season filled with dramatic revelations, hidden desires, renewal, and powerful choices. Our islanders return to Caye Azul with unfinished stories, deep regrets, and hopeful hearts, ready to confront their pasts and create a future filled with love, peace, and happiness. This season, we meet new faces like Lena and Coby, who bring their own stories of regret and renewal, adding a dramatic twist to the relationships we thought we knew. From Trevin's struggles to redeem himself in Zaria's eyes, to Coby and Zaria's deepening bond, and from Damien and Lena's newfound understanding to Keeks' powerful decision to choose herself, each episode is a rich journey through love, friendship, temptation, and transformation. Island Love. Season 6 proves that love isn't a straight path. It's messy, challenging, and filled with lessons we carry forward. So grab a seat, watch these stories unfold against the stunning backdrop of Belize, and discover how choosing oneself can be the greatest love story of all. The first rays of the Belizean sun glimmered across the azure waters, bouncing off the gentle ripples and kissing the sand-covered shores of Caye Azul. The island was waking up, and so were the hearts of those who called it home, or were about to. Jasmine stood on the balcony of her cliffside villa, a rich purple and orange sky blooming in the distance. The view seemed endless, much like the possibilities that this season held. As the charming host of Island Love, Jasmine knew better than anyone just how much a few weeks under the Belizean sun could change a person's life. It's a new season, a new chance at love, friendships, and reconciliation. Her voice was firm, yet warmly affectionate. Some will reconnect, some will move on, and some will find something completely unexpected. But that's the magic of this island. Anything can happen. Jasmine turned back toward her team and nodded. It was time. The first boat was already visible in the horizon, glimmering against the orange glow. The season was about to start. Down by the docks, a small group of returning islanders were already waiting, their bags at their feet and nervous anticipation on their faces. Maya tightened her grip on her suitcase handle. She hadn't been back to Caye Azul since the dramatic season finale last year, when Trevin walked away without choosing her, a moment that left her feeling unsure and vulnerable. Nevertheless, there was a spark of hope in her now, a feeling that perhaps this was her chance to reconnect, find peace, and maybe, just maybe, find love again. Damien stood a few feet away, wearing his charming confidence like a tailored suit. His piercing green eyes darted toward the horizon and then briefly fell upon Zaria, who stood quietly near the water's edge. The two hadn't gotten much closure after their falling out last season. Whatever had gone unsaid between them remained a raw wound, something they'd soon need to confront. Meanwhile, Trevin tried to appear nonchalant, hands in his pocket, avoiding the piercing gazes of those around him. His regret from last season weighed heavy on him. He hadn't meant to break Maya's heart or to destroy friendships, but sometimes choices made under pressure can backfire. Now it was up to him to face the people he'd crossed and find a way forward. Keeks hopped off the boat first, nearly falling into the sand in her rush to reconnect with her friends. Always the soul of the group, she enveloped everyone in a giant warm hug, ignoring the awkward glances. "We're back, baby. Season 6, here we come." Then 2 new faces followed, Lena and Coby, the wild cards for this season. Coby, a charming musician from Belize City, and Lena, a soulful woman with a dramatic past, were eager to make their mark in this circle of friends and former lovers. Whatever relationships were already messy, these 2 were sure to add a few sparks and a few complications to the story. Jasmine walked forward to meet them all, a mischievous glimmer in her eyes. "Welcome back. And to those of you who are new, prepare for a ride you'll never forget. The island has plans for all of you." The first day on Caye Azul was a rush of emotions, a rich mixture of hope, regret, anticipation, and fear. The island seemed to tremble under its own magic, alive with the stories of the people who called it home. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a purple-orange glow across the sand, everyone gathered at the communal lounge to watch the sunset and celebrate their return. The air was thick with nervous energy. Friendships were blooming, hidden resentments were resurfacing, and sparks were already starting to fly. Jasmine raised her glass in a toast. To new chapters, to letting the past stay in the past, and to whatever the future holds. Everyone nodded, but not all were ready to let go of their doubts. Across the lounge, Trevin kept his eyes darting toward Maya. She stood near the railing, staring quietly into the horizon, ignoring the glances from her former lover. The silence between them seemed more pronounced in the growing purple light, a painful thread tying their past to their present. "It's not that easy, Trevin." The voice came from Zaria, a close friend to both, trying to be a peacekeeper in the face of growing tension. "You broke something in her. It's going to take more than an explanation. It's going to take action." Meanwhile, Coby, the charming newcomer, struck up a conversation with Zaria, much to Trevin's discomfort. The 2 seemed to connect effortlessly, swapping stories, laughing, letting their defenses drop just a little. Trevin remained a silent shadow in the corner, battling his own doubts about what the future might bring. Damien, normally a calm center in the group, felt a rush of nervous energy when Lena walked in wearing a stunning sundress. The light glimmered off her skin, making her glow in a way that seemed to illuminate the doubts in his own mind. There were rumors already spreading about her past, about the relationships she'd left back home, and Damien was unsure whether to pursue something with her or keep his distance. Keeks tried her best to ease the growing tensions by organizing a small confession circle, a chance for everyone to clear the air and say what was on their minds. Naturally, it turned into a dramatic showdown. Trevin tried to apologize to Maya in a faltering voice. Zaria challenged him on his motives, and Lena made a dramatic confession. She hadn't come just for love. She was here to confront something from her past. The confession fell heavy upon everyone. Whatever Lena was hiding, it seemed destined to affect not just her future, but the future of everyone on Caye Azul. The island was a small world, a pressure cooker of relationships, doubts, and desires. And when sparks flew under this kind of pressure, bridges were bound to burn. As the first day drew to a close, the group fell into a restless silence, unsure of what the future held, but certain it wouldn't be a smooth ride. The next morning on Caye Azul was a restless one. Few had gotten much sleep after the dramatic confession the night before. The island seemed heavy with anticipation, as if it were holding its breath, waiting for something to break. Jasmine called everyone together under the palapa by the water's edge. The sand was still cool beneath their feet, a temporary peace before the day's revelations. Today, we face the truths we've kept hidden. Whatever you're holding back, whatever you're afraid to say, it's time to let it come into the light. Some nodded, others avoided her piercing gaze. Among them, Lena remained silent, the confession from last night still an open wound for everyone. The rumors were spreading. What past was she referring to? Whatever it was, it seemed to connect directly to the group's future. Meanwhile, Coby tried to ease Zaria's doubts about their growing bond. Whatever happens, I'm not going anywhere. We're in this together now. His confidence seemed sincere, and Zaria felt herself letting her guard down just a little. But for Trevin, who hadn't gotten much rest thinking about the two growing close, this seemed more a betrayal than a new opportunity. The tension came to a head when Trevin demanded a private conversation with Zaria. "How can you move on so quickly?" he said quietly, a tremor creeping into his voice. "Don't you remember everything we went through together?" Zaria sighed and crossed her arms. "Don't confuse familiarity with loyalty. I have to follow my heart, and you, Trevin, chose to break it a long time ago." Meanwhile, Damien was wrestling with his own doubts. His attraction to Lena was battling against the rumors about her motives. Was she here to find love, or were there hidden agendas at play? He decided it was time to find the answers himself. Late in the afternoon, Damien asked Lena to meet him by the cliffside trail, a spot away from prying eyes. There, under a purple-orange sky, she opened up in a way she hadn't before. "I came back here for closure. Not love. There are things I left unfinished, promises I made, people I walked away from." Her confession seemed to lift a weight from her, and in that moment Damien felt a strange mixture of compassion and curiosity. Whatever Lena was hiding, it seemed more about regret and redemption than deception. As the day drew to a close, the group fell into a restless peace, unsure of where these revelations would lead them. Caye Azul was a place of love, but it was also a place where the past demanded to be addressed. Whatever choices were made in the coming days would shape not only their relationships but their futures. As the days flowed into each other under Caye Azul's shimmering skies, hidden desires were beginning to surface. The lines between friendships and romance were blurring, temptation was creeping in, and the past seemed less distant with each passing moment. Jasmine called for a poolside dinner party, a chance for everyone to let their hair down and connect without pressure. The scene was pure magic. The pool glimmered under multicolored lanterns. A rich feast filled the table, and a live reggae band played soulful rhythms that seemed to match the islanders' beating hearts. During dinner, Coby drew Zaria aside, trying to find a moment of peace amid the growing chaos. "I know you're unsure, and I know this is messy, but we have something real here." His confession made Zaria pause. She hadn't meant to let her guard down this quickly, but something about Coby made her feel alive again. Meanwhile, Damien found himself stranded in conversation with Lena, their first raw and vulnerable exchange a few days earlier, having opened a door neither meant to. There were sparks between them, not just physical attraction, but a deep understanding, two people battling regret and trying to redeem their past choices. Trevin remained a silent silhouette near the water, battling a gnawing suspicion that Zaria was slipping away from him. His regret weighed heavy. Ignoring her when she'd put her heart on the line seemed, in retrospect, the greatest mistake of his life. His doubts were not unfounded. Zaria was growing close to Coby, and there might be no turning back. As the dinner drew to a close, Jasmine addressed the group once more. Hidden desires have a way of surfacing. Whether we face them or not, the truth always finds us. Eyes darted, hands trembled, and the stage was set for a showdown. Whatever lay hidden in their hearts was about to come into the light. The following morning, the mood on Caye Azul seemed different, heavier, more purposeful. The dinner revelations had shaken everyone's resolve. Some were unsure of their choices, others were doubling down. Jasmine called for a group excursion, a kayaking trip through the nearby mangrove forests, paddling side by side in a labyrinth of roots and shimmering water. The islanders were forced into close quarters, a literal journey through the wilderness that mirrored their internal struggles. Coby teamed up with Zaria, much to Trevin's visible dismay. The two fell into a comfortable rhythm together, letting their paddles cut through the water in perfect unity. Zaria opened up about her doubts, about loving someone again after having her heart broken. And Coby listened, not interrupting, letting her unload her worries. Meanwhile, Damien and Lena fell into a deep conversation about regret and renewal. I walked away from something I shouldn't have. Lena sighed, but this might be a chance to make it right. The rawness in her voice struck a chord in Damien. It seemed their stories were more intertwined than either had suspected. Back on the main island, Trevin tried to find peace in solitude. His doubts gnawed at him. Had he crossed a point of no return? Was there a way back into Zaria's heart, or was it already closed off? Jasmine addressed everyone upon their return. Turning points come when we least expect them. The choices you make now will ripple through your future. Be careful who you let go and who you hold close. The group fell into a pensive silence, the calm before a dramatic upheaval. The peace from the kayaking excursion was short-lived. The following day, a dramatic showdown unfolded when rumors circulated that Trevin had gone through Zaria's phone messages in a moment of suspicion. The breach of trust fell hard on Zaria. Whatever chance remained for reconciliation seemed to shatter in an instant. It's not about messages. It's about trust, Trevin. Zaria's voice was firm, without a tremor. How can we move forward if you can't respect my boundaries? Coby stood quietly beside Zaria, a protective presence, adding to the growing rift. The group chose sides. Some supported Trevin, arguing that fear made people do irrational things. Others insisted Zaria's dignity demanded firm boundaries. The incident divided friendships and forced everyone to reassess their relationships. Meanwhile, Damien tried to console Zaria, offering a calm, neutral shoulder to lean on. His ability to stay composed amid chaos made him a center of stability, something Zaria hadn't recognized she'd been missing. Lena remained distant, battling her own doubts and wondering if trusting anyone on this island was a mistake. Her confession about her past seemed to have opened a path forward. But now the upheaval made her reconsider putting herself or her heart back into the messy world of love. As the days pressed on, friendships were tested, promises were questioned, and everyone was forced to confront their choices. Trevin made a dramatic attempt at redemption, organizing a small ceremony on the cliffside, a place of renewal, where people could come forward and say what was in their hearts. Jasmine presided over the gathering, a calm, guiding voice amid the chaos. This isn't about punishment. It's about understanding, letting go, and choosing a future. The group fell silent, letting the moment's power sink in. Trevin addressed Zaria directly. I messed up. I crossed a boundary I shouldn't have, but you are more than a regret to me. You are a piece of my soul. Whatever you choose, I will respect it. Zaria remained silent for a moment, letting the words hang in the air. Then, with a deep sigh, she nodded. I appreciate your honesty, but it's time for me to move forward. Without you. Meanwhile, Lena made peace with her past, letting go of the shame and regret that kept her from loving fully. Coby and Zaria seemed to grow closer, their bond deepening in the face of upheaval. The island was slowly starting to heal. Relationships were shifting. Friendships were deepening. A new future was beginning to take shape. Jasmine called everyone together in the lounge at sundown with a dramatic announcement. It's time for a love experiment. The group fell silent in disbelief. What was she planning? For the next 48 hours, you will be divided into pairs. Not by choice, but by the draw of a hat. Jasmine drew names from a bowl. Coby and Zaria, Damien and Lena, Trevin and Keeks. The pairings were designed to challenge perspectives, forcing people to connect outside their comfortable roles. Trevin sighed when his name fell alongside Keeks, a friend, not a lover. But the twist meant spending 2 days together, reflecting honestly on their choices. Coby and Zaria were excited to grow closer, while Damien and Lena saw it as a chance to resolve unfinished conversations. As the pairs fell into their roles, something remarkable happened. The forced proximity challenged their misconceptions and opened up space for understanding. Trevin opened up to Keeks about regret and shame. Coby and Zaria deepened their bond, and Damien and Lena addressed their doubts honestly. The love experiment seemed to be a turning point. Some relationships were healing, some were growing, and some were closing chapters for good. As the love experiment drew to a close, the island fell into a pensive hush. Everyone was wondering, where do we go from here? Jasmine called the group together once more, this time under a purple-orange sky, and asked each person to state their decision. Will you stay together, or will you move forward separately? Zaria chose Coby. With you, I feel peace, a future. Coby nodded, smiling through tears. Damien chose to pursue something with Lena. I want to see where this path might lead. Trevin, humbled and unsure, decided it was time to focus on himself and his own healing. Keeks chose independence, honoring herself above all else. I'm not finished growing yet. The group nodded in understanding. Loving oneself first is sometimes the greatest decision of all. Jasmine addressed everyone. Your choices will shape your future. Whatever you chose here today, know it comes from a place of authenticity and hope. The mood was heavy but not sad. The final day fell upon Caye Azul with a rich purple-orange sunset, a dramatic close to a dramatic season. The island seemed to exhale, letting go of the stories it had kept for the past few weeks. Jasmine gathered everyone on the beach for a closing ceremony, a moment to celebrate the journeys, the friendships made, the love that blossomed, and the chapters closed. This isn't an ending, it's a beginning. Jasmine's voice was firm and clear against the soundtrack of the waves. Every decision you made here will ripple forward into your future. Carry these lessons with you. Embrace love, peace, and authenticity. Coby and Zaria walked away hand in hand, a symbol of renewal and hope. Damien and Lena remained side by side, unsure of their future, but willing to find it together. Trevin nodded quietly, letting go of his doubts, and Keeks turned back toward the island, ready to conquer whatever came next on her own terms. As the last rays of the sun dipped below the horizon, the island fell into a deep peace, a peace earned through love, reconciliation, and the power of choosing oneself. And that's a wrap on season 6 of Island Love, the Belizean spin-off from dramatic revelations and hidden desires to deep friendships and powerful choices. This season reminded us that love is a journey, not a destination. Thank you for following these stories from start to finish. Keep believing in love, honoring your heart, and staying true to yourself. Until next time, from the shores of Caye Azul, this is Island Love signing off.